If you don't quite know what you're looking for, you won't know what you find, but more importantly, you're probably going to miss something that you would have liked to have looked for. So the first thing I think it's really important is know who you're dealing with. So the identity of the organisation. When we look at websites, when we look at glossy brochures, sometimes we'll see the brand name quite clearly, but it's actually a bit hard to understand who's behind it all. And, when we think about the internet and the myriad of different sources of information that come through websites, that might come through the apps on our mobile phones, often you'll find resellers are actually reselling a product that is derived from a principal provider of the product. For example, Apple phones are sold through Apple resellers. Telstra products might be sold through other resellers that are not called Telstra though. And so, you need to understand, I'm actually here, I'm buying a Telstra product, but I'm buying it through a particular agent or reselling business that is really creating a distribution channel. So understanding, am I dealing with the agent or am I dealing with Telstra when I read privacy policies, when I read the documentation is really important. Disclosure is very pervasive. We often sort of see it in fine print, and that's not very nice. No one likes to read fine print. Sometimes there'll be links in the fine print that give us access to a PDF that's nicer and easier to read. That's great if it happens. But it's really important to look on websites and in material for privacy. Look in the index of PDF documents if there's an index. Often it might be down the back. Sometimes it's up the front. It's never in the middle. It's never ever in the middle, I don't think. But it's either at the top or the tail of the document. But usually it will be called out in an index. On a website, a great place to look for privacy notices and privacy policies is down in the footer, in the footer of a website. As you scroll through the website, you should reach a solid footer that doesn't move up and down the screen, and that's very common to find the privacy policy of an organisation or perhaps privacy notices there. As we progress through processes, we find privacy notices often at the beginning of the process before we need to give information for the process to take place. So that's always something to look out for. Don't do a couple of quick clicks until you get to the type in my details. Take the time just to see what's coming up on each page, because that actually might be the privacy notice for that particular product or service you're about to inquire about. Is the explanation of purpose for collection, use and sharing specific or granular enough in the context of what you're about to buy or inquire about with an organisation, or is it too vague? That's one of the really big pitfalls that we see in privacy documentation. Yes, it's talking about that company. Yes, it's talking about the fact that they are about to sell me a banking service or a travel service, but I'm going on a particular airline and I'm dealing with particular hotels. Is it talking about them? Is it talking about the processes that are current today at that hotel, that airline, or that bank? It's really important that we do, without making privacy notices overly lengthy and voluminous, it's really important that we do understand, are we really in the right context for the information that I really want to know about what's going to happen with my personal information. Understanding the controls that we have, so looking for the consent mechanism, looking for what we can control and how accessible the company may be. Do they have a call centre? Do they have an e-form online that I can make an inquiry about and expect a reply? Do they have an email address? Sometimes it's hard to find email addresses on websites these days. So, it's really a matter of making sure that you understand, okay, I've given my information to this company. They're now giving me a service or a product. How do I get in contact with them? Where do I find that preference panel? Is it in the app? Is it on the website? Do I have to log in order to use it? All of those sorts of things, and familiarize yourself with how perhaps your account works with a particular provider, as a part of taking a service or a product. And finally, consent options, understanding whether or not you can modify your consent for different products or services. So, if I do want to withdraw or decline, for a bank, it might just be that I don't want certain information about complex financial products that are of no interest to me. However, mortgages and savings accounts and credit cards, I do want information about, right? So it is, once you've found those preference panels, once you've found the means by which you can modify your consent, whether it's having read a privacy notice or you're on the console with the yes/no buttons, that's something to really take clear note of. Come back to that. Come back to it. It can change from time to time. Often a company will push their privacy policy to you, and that's another signal for things have changed with the company. So know where to come back to when those events occur.